You know when I'm dead.
No, you are always there. You are the real self, you are always there.
Okay.
Real self neither takes birth nor dies.
Yeah.
So even after listening so many times, our mind is caught, and mind and the sense organs are caught in the objects of the sense organs in the material world, and this material world is constantly changing.
Okay.
And any change means birth and the death.
Yeah. Okay.
So you see that whatever the sense organ perceive and the mind perceives, they perceive the object, people, situation that is constantly changing.
Mhm.
And the masters are talking about that there is a real self that does not change.
Yeah. Right.
So it means are the sense organ and the mind can perceive the real self? The answer is no, because the sense organ and the mind itself are changing.
Yeah.
They are constantly changing. Every sense organ is changing. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I was not born with the glasses. After so the eyes have undergone a change, ears have undergone a change, and so the mind has undergone a change. That is why we say meditation transcends the mind. That needs to be understood. So we normally sometimes misunderstand, and then there is a problem. Then we enter into hallucinations. I want to see the real self through the mind. You cannot see it. You have to transcend the mind. You cannot see it through the sense organ. And then I sit in meditation, I see the god and goddesses, and I see that there is a self-realization. No, it is hallucination and imagination. We have to be very clear. So that is why the master talks about it, that desire for the real self is different from the desire of other objects in the material world. So desire for the self-inquiry is totally different from the desire for anything in the material world. We have millions of desires. And out of trillions of desires, we have only one desire to know the real self. So that desire to know the real self follows a totally different path than all the desires. And there should be an absence of craving, obsession, duality, anxiety, conflict, confusion, anger, and the frustration. All desires have one or the other element. It may have a craving, it may have an obsession, it may have a duality, because we are trying to get something from the material world, not from inside us.
Yeah.
So what happens that it is not possible for a normal, or I would say a non-seeker, let it put that way, that desire to know the real self, one has to be a seeker. A non-seeker cannot achieve that real self. So then who is a non-seeker? So non-seeker is too much obsessed, mesmerized to get peace and happiness from the world. I have to recognize, I have to observe it, I have to understand it, I have to analyze it. We are not talking of anything religion, dogma, cult, etc. That is the beauty of the Eastern wisdom. So, because mind is so much obsessed and habituated and impulsive, that we have to change the mindset to become a seeker. And to become a seeker, we need two powers of the intellect. One is the power of discernment, another is the power of dispassion. If we don't have the power of discernment and the power of dispassion, then we cannot become a seeker and we cannot reach to that state. So that is why we say that the journey of the self-discovery is not possible by a non-seeker. So non-seeker go on asking the questions pertaining to the world, and the real self is not located in the world. So we have to observe our projection, our obsession, our attachment, our duality. If we don't understand those objections, those projections, then we cannot become a seeker, and the seeker cannot find. A seeker alone can succeed. So when I observe the entire world, I look at the wall and the computer screen and the phone and the mouse and the key and including the body, everything is changing. And our master says that real self is never changing identity. So I have to go slowly and observe that I cannot find the real self in anything that is changing, including the body, mind, breath, intellect, ego. So what happens by constant listening and learning these principles? The mind gradually detaches itself from the worldly objects. We get a power of discernment. We recognize, we have a cognition inside all the time that whatever is changing is not me. So cool down, including your heart is also changing. My heart is also changing. Eyes are changing, hair is changing, every part of the body. Anything that is made up of the parts is changing. And the real self is not made up of the parts, it is one individual whole. It is one consciousness. You cannot divide the consciousness. Just see that. You cannot divide the consciousness. So we have to rediscover that undivided consciousness, and then we have to find out whether this consciousness is I am, or I am the body, mind, intellect, and ego. That results into what we say awakening and what people say enlightenment. Because I desire to seek happiness in the world outside, so the mind becomes lopsided, it cannot go inside. My mind has already created an I thought, an ego, that the happiness is outside. So hence I have to constantly observe, I have to gain the power of discernment, through which I analyze that anything in the world that is constantly changing cannot take me to the real self. I have to leave that. So I should have an art of detachment and dispassion. Right? Desire keeps changing. Objects keep changing. Desire in the mind keeps changing. Objects in the world outside keeps changing. And whatever is changing, you cannot have a permanent happiness there. The mind has projected happiness in an object, and then it is constantly changing, and then there is a lack or a sense of incompleteness in me. So because I feel the sense of incompleteness in me, sense of insecurity in me, that is why I am chasing the objects of the world to secure peace and happiness, where it is not. and that is what is known as the delusion. So the Masters keeps on teaching us that the true happiness lies within, not in external things. So it means there is a need to go beyond the desires to find the real self. We should also observe the transient nature of the ego. It keeps on changing. So what happens that if we follow the power of discernment and dispassion, we are able to separate the binding desire and the unbinding desire. We should have a desire to, I'm hungry, so I should eat food. That is also a desire, but that is not causing any problem. Desire to go to the washroom, it is not causing any problem. Desire to sleep, it is not causing any problem unless we have a sleep disturbance. So what the Masters are talking about, that you analyze the desire. If it is a binding element, means a sense of it attaches me, I get obsessed, I should leave that. So mind is not the cause of suffering, it is because of the attachment and obsession for the desire in the worldly object is the cause of the suffering. And that prevents me to rise in awareness because I remain attached, I remain impulsive. So when we are constantly listening and learning the principles and contemplating and reflecting, the time comes we recognize the endless desires belongs to the world and there is only one desire to know the real self. So when I consciously think I have to know myself, but I am not outside in the world, I am inside. Desire to know the real self helps the mind to move within. One thing is sure. In a modern world, every year the new phone model comes. So you like one phone, you have a desire to update the phone every year. So everything is changing. But desire to know the real self never changes. It is the same. Desire to discover that real self is of the nature of permanent peace and happiness is only one. It does not change. So there is another point of analysis. There are unreliable sources of peace and happiness outside. There is only one reliable source of peace and happiness, that is me. That is inside me, that is pure consciousness. So I am conscious. It means consciousness is already there. So what I have to recognize, a cognition that I am consciousness. I am not the body, mind, intellect, ego and the breath. That cognition is known as the awakening. When 24/7. That cognition, we say cognitive behavior therapy, CBT. So cognition is the awareness. It is awareness that I am consciousness. I am not the body, mind, intellect. The way I recognize that I am not the neighbors. My neighbor's house is not me. The way I recognize I cut the nails, oh, this is not me, so better to cut it. Better to go to the salon and get my beard and hairs cut. I'm not the hair. We recognize it, but we don't recognize where the hairs are growing. That is also not me. We don't recognize that. Why? Because we are attached. And because of the attachment, our cognition ability goes down. We remain attached, getting obsessed, and that gives us the pain and the. So desire for anything in the world and desire to know the real self is totally different. Desire is a craving or wanting of something, usually related to an object, person, experience we feel will bring peace and happiness. The desire to know our real self is different because it is not based on external things, but rather an internal longing for self-realization. The greater the longing you have, you will get rid of the anxiety and duality. That we do not have. So I normally have one weekly session from the Ukrainian people around 10. So I was asking all of them, it's a group session, about 15 people are there. So I asked them that how many times in the last week your mind has a desire for the real self. So you are always ready to know the real self only for 1 hour every week. And the rest of the time you have desire for the worldly objects. How can you think that you can realize? So you try to ask a lot of questions which has no meaning at all. So what happens? There is a secret our master tells that by regular practice, listening and learning, we reach there. What is the secret? So if there is a desire, there is a desirer. There is a holder of desire. Mouse doesn't desire. Smartphone doesn't desire. Any inert object does not desire. So if I desire, so there is a desirer. And the problem is that the desire lives in the mind, desirer also lives in the mind. That desirer of anything outside is not me. Are you getting it? Desire to eat pasta and the desirer who wants pasta, they both live in the mind. That is the problem. But we are different from the desire that is living in the mind and also the desire that lives in the mind. That is the problem. Desire and the desirer both live in the mind. We are aware. How you are aware? I desire to have a cup of tea. So where is this I thought lives? This I thought lives in the mind. This I thought is the ego. Ego always lives in the mind. Ego is not different from the mind. And so where is the desire to eat, desire to drink coffee? It is also in the mind. Who knows the coffee? It is the mind. And we don't recognize this. So that is why he said cognitive ability. Cognitive ability. We need that. So once we recognize that the desire for anything outside in the world arises due to a sense of lack or incompleteness, we crave certain objects and people or experiences because we believe they will make me happy and fulfilled. So now I have already projected. What I have projected, that the coffee will bring me freshness and peace. But the peace is not the property of coffee. But the I thought has projected already there. It is obsessed. No, no, it helps me. It brings a chemical change in my brain. How long? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? After that, the brain goes to the same old habit. So that sense of incompleteness and the need for security drives the cycle of desiring, 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 desire, and the desirer keeps on, and it does not allow me to recognize that I am the consciousness. That is why we have to quieten the mind. We have to withdraw the mind from outside to inside, not by force. If we do it by force, we will become hypocrite. The mind keeps on willing and desiring. I may control for some time, but that is not control forever. But instead, I have to recognize that there is no object in the world whose property is peace and happiness. I like this mouse which is lying on my table. I like it. I am attached to it. So it gives me a pleasure. And now my mind starts thinking that as if the happiness is the property of this mouse. How can it be a property? Happiness be the property of this mouse? It is inert. I can only recognize happiness if I am conscious of it. If I am conscious. No vegetable, no delicacies has a property of happiness. No, no, I like always the sweets and desserts. That makes me happy. Go on eating it. After a few years you have diabetes, then you will know. Look at it. So what exactly is the root of the problem? That root of the problem, we say it is ignorance about not knowing my real nature. I have a misconception, false notion. I have a false notion that I am the body. It is said by the I thought, and then I start running after fulfilling all the desires of the body, craving an impulsive nature. It gives me the false identification, and then I start running into problems. That is why the Master says we have to realize the unchanging true nature. The moment I have a cognition of the true nature, I will bring an end to the suffering. I will bring an end to the insecurity, unhappiness. The only way is the self-inquiry. By the self-inquiry meditation practice, I can remove the ignorance. If I don't do the self-inquiry and I simply do the practice of meditation, the knowledge and understanding is not there, it will not bring the result. And that is what we have been doing. Let us close your eyes. Eyes are closed. Hand. Being comfortable. Now you see that when I say being comfortable, you are not doing anything. You are not moving outside. You are not moving outside. What you are doing? You are doing nothing. You are just aware. What do you mean by aware? You know Here lies the body. You made it comfortable. You removed being unease in different parts of the body, and that makes you comfortable. So remember, being comfortable is what I'm saying. I'm not saying become comfortable. So when you become comfortable, then you have to do some activity. Now see, are we doing any activity? The answer is no. You look at, say for example, you look at the neck joint and shoulder joints, you look mentally. So one thing that happens, that sense organ which is driving you outside starts looking inside. So the senses are now living in the mind, they are not outside. When they are outside, they will always pick up the objects. That is what the being comfortable is. So being comfortable. So in that state of being comfortable, you feel the sensation, comfort and steadiness. So look at the entire body. You feel the sensation. You feel the sensation, comfort and steadiness. So sometimes people experience being comfortable at a late, it takes time. Why? Because the mind is wandering at the subconscious level. But by repeat practice, we can easily be comfortable at any time of the day. And the more you are comfortable means you are relaxed, you live into higher awareness. You are relaxed, you live in higher awareness. What it means, it is going to help. It is going to help the body too, including the heart. But are we comfortable all the time? That will make a difference. And now the same thing, the being carefree. The traffic is separate from a person watching the traffic. The same way the mental traffic is separate from the observer in the mind, the knower of the thoughts in the mind. Do you know the thoughts are there in the mind? Yes, I know it. So that knower, that is the knower. So what happens when we do not separate? We do not separate the knower from the thoughts. We feel whatever the thoughts are coming is me. Coming to mind is me, is causing obsession, projection. So we are carefree. We are carefree means that let any thought come. I am just aware of the thought is coming, thought is going. Thought is coming, thought is going. Thought is coming, thought is going. I continue to feel, sometimes I feel the sensation in the body, the comfort and steadiness. Sometimes the mind goes to the breath and body, and it's okay. Let it move. But you are aware. That is very important. Being aware. And now, my friend, so there is another word that we use, purify the mind. Simple. Look inside the forehead in the space, and then start breathing. Quick and gentle breath from both the nostrils So you have an expansion and contraction of the rib cage. Quick and gentle breath. Continue. 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 Quick, short, gentle breath. And now stop it and experience some sensation, relaxation, some change in the sensation. We just recognize it. We just recognize it. Why we recognize? We need a cognition what is happening. Now in that state, start breathing deep, silent and slow. What it means by deep, silent and slow. As you inhale, the belly expands, then the rib cage goes up, and as you exhale, first the belly drops down, and then the chest, rib cage. So you feel, what do you feel? You feel the movement of belly and rib cage in succession, one after the other. So that's what happens. So you know it is a deep breath, it is a slow breath, there is no noise, and it is silent. Slow and silent obviously means no noise in the slow. What happens? The slow breath raise your awareness. Mind continues to live within. No, but it doesn't happen to me so easily. Why? So it means we need to practice for a longer period. It happens to me easily, then you are there. What happens is that the mind continues to live, being aware of the space within or emptiness within when we are doing a deep, silent and slow breathing. Check. The breath is deep. It means flow, the expansion and contraction of belly and the rib cage. Find breath is silent, there is no noise. So when there is no noise, obviously you will find yourself in a new level of awareness. No noise means the mind also finds, no, I have to move it slowly, so it raises your attention level. The attention span increases. Continue breathing deep, silent, and slow in the state of comfort and steadiness in the body. You're not moving the body at all except the movement in the belly and the rib cage. And now, as you inhale deep, silent, and slow, to raise our awareness further, you drop Om Shanti. You start saying Om as you inhale. Shanti ends at your inhalation is complete. And again, your exhalation starts with Om and ends by ends when your exhalation is complete. So you simply that is the way to keep the mind within. We are just going with clear understanding that I want to keep my mind within, and that is why I'm doing Om Shanti with the same deep, silent, and slow breath. That is deep, silent, and slow breath. Obviously, when we are breathing deeply, I'm not going into the scientific aspect. Your oxygen concentration in the blood definitely increases, even if you're doing it for a couple of minutes. That is definitely going to help your heart. And if we do this practice for a couple of times during the day, it's going to help a great deal. Deep silence, slow breath, and one Om Shanti. Om Shanti. And now leave the deep silent slow breath. Allow the breath to return to its normal state, but at the same time keep watching how the breath returns to its normal breathing pattern. And if we can extend the period of just an awareness of the breath, we can go deeper. Whenever you do this practice, you return to the breath awareness. You are not doing anything, you're just looking at the breath, the way it is moving in and out. And this state, if you extend the period of this awareness of the breath maybe for another half an hour, it will take you deeper. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it in your eyes, open the eyes inside the palms. Know your experiences, bring the hands down. We will share our experiences now. How are you?
Yes, fine.
Fine?
Fine. I feel very, very good. Quiet.
Yes, so the last point, when you live into that breath awareness in the end and you extend the period for a longer period, maybe for half an hour, just keep lying on. You will find out whether you can do it or not. So if you cannot do it, your mind, it is because the mind is running out. And if you can really do it on a given day, your mind lives with.
Yeah.